I thought the Cardinals. I thought that was a really nice win for them last night, to say the least. 4-2. I mean, listen. Framber Valdez is one of the best starting pitchers in baseball, and they spotted him a 2-0 lead. And I don't know what the win expectancy was at that time. I didn't check, and nor will I. But I know I was watching it and thinking, boy, that's a bad way to start a game against the Astros, but particularly this starting pitcher. But to their credit, the Cardinals, didn't put their heads down. They fought back. They got a solo home run by Paulie DeYoung to make it 2-1. Then he drove in another run on a sac fly, so he made contributions. Arenado had a good game. There were a lot of little things that added up in a good way. Jordan Montgomery was fantastic on the mound, made another outstanding start. His ERA and we'll get to him in a minute. I'll just save it for that. And the Cardinals bullpen was airtight with another save, 5 for 5 since June 17th for Jordan Hicks. So it's a good start to a 13-game trek that's going to take him into the All-Star break. And one thing I like about it, and I'm sure Jim Heuer noticed some of this too, there was our locals in the media were kind of shopping a narrative last night. And you say, well, what do you mean by that? What I mean by that is like, man, there was a lot of interest, a lot of questions about jet lag. And it makes me laugh because men and women of the press, the Cardinals are good at making their own excuses. You don't have to, help them, okay? But to their credit, the Cardinals they blew it off. They're like, well, no, we got to win games. Our sleep schedules are off, but we don't care. We got to go out and play baseball, man. We got a couple weeks to go before the All-Star break, and, you can't fool around. So I like the fact that they rejected excuses. However, if they would have lost, I don't know. With all the hand-holding going on down there, they may have made an excuse or two because they would have been prompted to do so. But anyway, I'm just fussing because that's what I do. It was really a nice win, 12th comeback of the year. That's one of the lowest totals in the majors. But if you're going to make a comeback in the NL Central, you got to make a comeback in games more often, and they did that. They were pretty determined. Got a quality start for Jordan Montgomery, and they didn't squander it. The bullpen, as I mentioned, was spot on. Jordan Hicks was the Sandman. Despite striking out 9 times, Cardinals hitters made the most of their 8 hits and 4 walks. They got some, as we already mentioned, some important contributions from DeYoung and Arenado. And not only did Arenado have a go-ahead double, but he gave him a 4-2 lead with that great slide where he eluded the tag at home plate, and that put him up 4-2. So that's heads-up baseball. It wasn't perfect, obviously. They overcame a first-inning error. Actually, I think first hitter of the game by second baseman Brendan Donovan, and a bad base-running decision by Wilson Contreras. Got thrown out at third trying to advance. And I like this, too, because the Cardinals are odd. They're a weird team. They're strange. The oddball Cardinals prevailed last night despite the fact that their hitters went 0 for 9 with 5 strikeouts after the 5th inning. But they got to the winner's circle. My point is, I would say against the odds, considered how it started and considered the quality of starting pitcher opposing them, and considering there were some knucklehead moments and some lapses in offense and all that. But there was also some pretty aggressive play, determined play. They competed hard. And they got it done. It's not always going to be a magnum opus. I don't think we're picky about wins. You either win or lose, and we have all seen plenty of losses this year. So I thought that was a fun game, and I thought it was an interesting game. And Jim Heuer, now it comes down to what the Cardinals actually can do with this. Just win series. I know Houston, you win 2 out of 3 from Houston. Yankees are vulnerable. You win 2 out of 3 for them. Marlins, I don't know, go down there and get a split, then go to Chicago White Sox and win a series. I'm not saying that, that's like their ceiling for these remaining 12 games. But I'm just saying, it doesn't have to be anything overly dramatic. You just can't be giving games away and losing more games when you have to win more games. You just can't afford to just sort of fall back into what you've been doing for most of the year. Jim Heuer, what do you think?
That's got to be your goal. That's it. 2 out of 3, boys. 2 out of 3. And then, like you said, we could split with the Marlins, take 2 out of 3 against the Sox, and then you go, okay, now we're playing good baseball because we stretched together the pretty good baseball we played for the most part on that road trip, even though they should have swept the Nationals. But nonetheless, when you start stretching that all out, that's a good stretch of baseball. That's where they got to – this is where they got to go. Yeah. It's unrealistic to go, hey, we got to win 10 in a row. No, it'd be great, but the reality is that's not going to happen. You just got to start winning these series, putting them back to back. I, like you, was really impressed that it was Framber Valdez that they beat last night. He's been really, really good, and if they can find a way to get it done again tonight, I'll be like, wow, that's 2 high-quality pitchers. Another note from last night, you won a ball game against a really good pitcher, and you only hit 1 home run. And we've talked about, and you've had great numbers on how, unless you hit 3, it's pretty rough around here to try and find victories. And another note, and I know we get texters all the time, and I appreciate all of them. One I did not get to yesterday, but I get a kick out of now, knowing what took place last night. The question was, Bernie, isn't it about time we be done with the Paul DeYoung experiment at shortstop? And after last night's game, I would say probably not. I think we're overreacting. But we've broken that down, but I thought I got a kick out of it.
I actually would take that as somebody trying to troll me, knowing they would get me fired up.
I think you're probably right.
Because anybody who's got half a brain would understand that, Paul DeYoung's done a really good job for them this year. So, but there's going to be – listen, let me tell you something. He could put up Cal Ripken Jr. numbers, and it wouldn't be enough. And the thing that's interesting to me, if that was a serious text message, I doubt that it was. The thing that I've mentioned this a little bit. The thing that fascinates me, why are they outraged at him? Why are they mad at him? Why do they hate him? Did he break into the Cardinals front office quarters and get out of contract and fill it in himself? What are you mad at him for? They offered him a contract and he took it. Be mad at the people who gave him the contract if you're mad. But if you got some intelligence, you would appreciate he's done a good job for them overall this year. If you want to base everything on strikeouts, well, okay. That's rather limited thinking, and I'm being polite there. There's every team in the majors would, if a guy's compensating for strikeouts by hitting for power, hitting very well with runners in scoring position, and by playing the type of defense at shortstop that has him tied for 9th in the majors in outs above average. He's also, since 2019, he's only 3 major league shortstops have saved more runs defensively than Paul DeYoung. If people can't appreciate that, then, man, I tend to be grouchy, right? I can't imagine going through life being that miserable. And I can't imagine, if you call yourself a Cardinals fan, that you would be perpetually unhappy with Paul DeYoung no matter what he does in 2023. So there's my answer if it was a serious question. I don't think it was. Because I actually think people are pretty smart, I do. And I think smart people get it. But, again, I also know that it's hopeless because some people will never be convinced. And they're mad at the wrong guy. That's the thing that really makes them stupid. You're mad at the wrong person.
I get it. It reminded me of that text yesterday when I saw DeYoung. He got a sac fly, hit the big home run off Valdez, and you're like, oh,
He's really good at shortstop
Good
as
thing,
well.
Yeah, good thing we didn't bench him tonight for that. One other thing, it's slowly developing, and we're always trying to find a positive.
Yeah.
Jordan Hicks could be one of the most positive things that happens here in the next month if he keeps doing what he's doing. I mean, he looks like that Jordan Hicks we saw when he was lights out and doing things really well before Tommy John. So it's very small sample. But right now, he's one of the more positive things they got going right now because he is showing that you get a lead to the ninth, it's shut down and it's closed. The doors, lock the key, put the lock in, throw away the key because he has done some very, very good work lately.
I agree, and we're going to talk about trade deadline candidates among Cardinals a little later in the show. I would think he'd be very appealing on the open market, even though he can become a free agent after the season. And the question I have, if he keeps going, and I'll throw something else in here that actually strengthens the point. Mm-hmm. Maybe I ought to save that for when we have more time to kind of get into it. But if he keeps going, I'm not sure why the Cardinals wouldn't try to re-sign him or extend his contract. I'll throw in something that we have to go back in memory a little bit. But you know what's interesting? As a rookie, Jordan Hicks was given some save opportunities. He wasn't very good, but he was a rookie. He threw 200 miles an hour, but didn't know where it was going to go, and he wasn't ready to be a closer. But people will forget this, because I did, frankly. In 2019, until tearing his a UCL on June the 22nd, that was his last appearance. Up until that injury, and again, we're talking about through June the 22nd, Jordan Hicks had 14 saves in 15 opportunities.
It's pretty impressive.
I think that's good. And in his 14 saves that year, his one blown save was bad. However, it happened in March. It happened at the end of March. And I do believe that even Hall of Fame caliber closers are to be given a little leeway to squander one every now and then. They're all going to have blow-ups. But after that one blown save in late March, he was a perfect 14 for 14 in save opportunities. And his ERA, when he did save those games, 0.64. So my point being, maybe this is where he belongs, period. When you tear a ligament in your elbow, it's going to take you a while to get back. 2020, he didn't participate because of COVID. He was vulnerable because of his diabetes condition. He wouldn't have been able to pitch anyway. And when he came back after the surgery in 2021, he only worked 10 innings. And you just throw that out. That's a guy, trying to get back into it and trying to just sharpen up and all that stuff. He wasn't ready to be a good major league reliever at that point. He just had to get back into it and, build up pitching strength and all that stuff. He only pitched 10 innings. And then in 2022, the front office came up with this cockamamie project to make him a starting pitcher. So you got a guy that was, after March of 2019, was literally perfect as a closer before he got hurt. So let's take that guy, and of course, we'll convert him into a starting pitcher, because we're the Cardinals. We are smarter than everyone. And, you all will be thanking us. It was a complete disaster. And my theory is that it just got him totally out of whack. He had his moments in 2022, but he didn't have a defined role. They screwed with his head by trying to make him into a starter, even though he wanted that. But then when they removed him from the rotation, then he was kind of, disappointed, probably sulked a little bit. And last season he was good in stretches, but not consistent. If the dude can't be a starting pitcher, he wants to be a closer. He thrives on that big game stuff, that pressure stuff, because he loves to show off his pitching dominance and it seems to listen based on his track record. He seems to summon that dominance when he's put in the closer role. And like you said, 5 opportunities since June 17th, 5 saves, dominant saves. That is a small sample, but he's pretty exciting because he's back. My opinion, he is back where he belongs. And we sort of forgot about that. Me too. That the dude was on the way to being a hell of a closer until the elbow injury in late June of 2019.
He's been dominant, and I don't know what took so long, but if you're a Cardinal fan, you got to be excited about that. And I, like you, if it continues over the next month, I think you got to knock on the door and go, hey, how about re-signing? That's a valuable arm if he continues to throw like this and stays healthy. Especially, what we find out yesterday, Helsley's still a ways away, and even if you're thinking about getting back in this thing, you need somebody that can close the door. And Gallegos is where he needs to be, by the way, right now. He's that setup guy. He doesn't.
Sure.
Don't throw him in the closer's role. It doesn't work. And then if Helsley comes back, that's a bonus. You go, you can work in here in that 7th, 8th inning role somehow, some way, because Jordan Hicks has got everything taken care of.
Let's turn to Jordan Montgomery. But the Cardinals have the Jordanaires this year, don't they?
Yeah,
Hicks,
they do.
Hicks, Montgomery, Walker. Montgomery was outstanding last night. The Astros still have a pretty dangerous lineup. I know they don't have Alvarez and Altuve, but they're plenty capable of scoring runs. So he held him to 1 earned run in 6 2/3. He yielded 6 hits. He only walked 1. He struck out 6. Got 2 double play grounders. Got a lot of grounders, and that's good. Listen, he was really bad in his first 4 starts in May. People like to talk about, well, he's bad in May. Well, he was, but he had a really good start at the end of May that maybe was an indicator that he was going to be really good in June, and that's exactly what's happened. His first 4 starts in May, he had a 6.64 ERA, and that was a real come down from what had been a really outstanding first month. But he's really rebounded in his last 6 starts, starting with his final start in May and then through June. Dude's only given up 8 earned runs in 36 2/3. That's a 1.96 ERA. And one of the other things to really like about that, in the last 6 starts, he's got 33 strikeouts with only 7 walks. And he's held opponents to a 616 OPS. The point being with that, the reason I mentioned the strikeouts and the walks, take notice, Jack Flaherty. Jordan Montgomery does not beat himself. He does not defeat himself. He pounds the strike zone. He can go deeper into games because of it. And he's not clogging the bases by, trying to be too clever, too cute, trying to always get guys to chase pitches and they don't. And then it's ball 1, ball 2, ball 3, ball 4. I really appreciate his pitching. And again, we're going to look back and wonder about this. We're going to do more than wonder. There'll probably be some caterwauling. When Jordan Montgomery made it clear through the media that he would be open to the idea of a contract extension, but only if they could work it out before the regular season started. He was open to the idea. The Cardinals ignored it, never did anything, never engaged him. And he's going to be a free agent after the season. And the way he's going, and people got to remember, it's going to be a very thin starting pitching market in free agency coming up after this season. If he stays healthy, and there's no reason to think he won't be, because he got his Tommy John out of the way earlier in his career, he's going to be one of the most coveted free agent pitchers, starting pitchers on the market. And I'm sure some people scoff at that, but I'm telling you that there ain't going to be much available. If you're looking to pay a starting pitcher as a free agent, there's just not going to be any kind of great class. And you get a left-handed pitcher who does, again, he throws strikes. He doesn't walk many. He keeps the ball in the yard for the most part. He does a good job against right-handed hitters. He can give you innings. He gives you a really good percentage of quality starts. More on that in a minute. Why wouldn't he be in demand in a starting pitching thin market? Why wouldn't he be? People think it's like, well, what are you saying? He's Max Scherzer now? No, I'm not. I'm just saying, take a look at the potential list of starting pitcher free agent starting pitchers, and what likely will be available, and then you would understand why Jordan Montgomery's actually got a lot of value. Speaking of that, this was the fourth consecutive quality start by Montgomery, and why that's important, well, here it is. When the Cardinals get a quality start, and obviously you do not get enough of them, when they get a quality start this season, they're 17-4. So Montgomery has done his share, and let me read this to you. In fact, he's got 43% of the team's 21 quality starts this year. He's got it by himself.
How about that?
Well, I don't know, Bernie. They can do better than give this guy money. Oh, really? Okay, if you say so. Here's the quality start percentage for each St. Louis starting pitcher this season, okay? Now listen to this closely, please. Montgomery, 56% of his starts have been a quality start. Miklasz, 38%. Flaherty, 27%. Libator, 17%. Waino, 11%. Steven Matz and Jake Woodford made 16 combined starts. Neither one of them had a quality start. So if a key to their starting pitching going forward, not only the remainder of this year, but as you look ahead to 2024, they need to get more quality starts from their rotation. They just do. Well, what do these numbers tell you? Who's the most dependable, reliable guy that you can count on to deliver a quality start? His name is Jordan Montgomery. And, sometimes a guy's going to have a bad run, just like he did not pitch well, like I said, the first 4 starts in May. He was great in the first month. He was great in June. And, frankly, he's putting these other starting pitchers to shame. It's pretty embarrassing to see him doing most of the heavy lifting when it comes to quality starts. This starting rotation that, I remind you, collectively is making the third most money of the third highest amount of money, salary of any starting rotation in baseball. And the Cardinals have invested 41% of their total starting pitching, 41% of their total payroll, 41% of their total payroll into their starting pitching, which is the highest in Major League Baseball. And there's one guy who consistently comes through. And it's Jordan Montgomery. I mean, there are times when you just quit nitpicking a guy, or you stop downgrading him because he's not, Justin Verlander or Max Scherzer or some other pitcher that, he's not Carlos Rondon. Has he pitched in 2023? I don't think so.
The other guys haven't pitched well either.
No.
You just mentioned, yeah.
So, by the way, I was fooling around with something I wrote on Montgomery today. I'm going to throw this out just for some levity. Did you know that Jordan Montgomery is a graduate of Sumter High School in South Carolina? That would be Sumter High, as in Fort Sumter, the site of the unofficial beginning of the United States Civil War. You know who else graduated from Sumter?
I do not.
Do you remember Tim Jones, that amiable utility dude?
Yes.
He was a Cardinal from 1988 through 1993. I think people like that kind of trivia.
That is interesting. I didn't know that about him.
You know who else? I hate to tell, with all due respect to Jordan Montgomery, he'll never be the best baseball player to come out of Sumter. The Yankees, for the old timers, will appreciate this. The younger fans will be who? What?
Uh-huh.
The Yankees had a great second baseman named Bobby Richardson.
Uh-huh.
He started at second base when the Yankees were on a run of 7 American League pennants and 3 World Series titles between 1957 and 64. He was a 7-time All-Star, and he won 5 Gold Gloves. And God bless him, he's still alive at age 87.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Bobby Richardson. So, yeah, Montgomery is the second best MLB player out of Sumter High in South Carolina.
That's hard to believe there'd be another one better, but that's pretty awesome. That's a nice little nugget. I like it.
You know, and can I tell a quick story?
Sure.
I see here I go again, branching off. I believe it was 1966, but if it wasn't 66, it was 65. So the Yankees are playing the Orioles. The Yankees weren't very good that year. Not that that really matters. But anyway, there was this nasty collision on the base paths. Richardson went in hard on like the Cardinals shortstop. Like he was trying to steal a base, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the details of this. I mean, it was like a, oh my goodness type of collision where I think the shortstop's knee just nailed him like right in the head, you know?
Ooh.
So he looked very, very wobbly walking off the field. I mean, he wasn't even walking. He had no idea where he was. So they sent him to the hospital. This is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I swear. So there's a traffic jam on 33rd Street. It's where you have to go to get out away from Memorial Stadium and then get to where you're going to go, right?
Okay.
So we're my dad's driving, of course. I'm inching along, and I look, all of a sudden, there's this big hospital right there on 33rd Street. And I look over, and I knew who it was, because who the hell else, what other Yankee would be sitting there in full uniform on the steps of the hospital?
Really?
I knew it was Bobby. Yeah, I knew it was Bobby Richardson. And so we're inching along, and I look over them. I'm like, "Hey, Dad, it's Bobby Richardson over there." "Oh, what are you talking about?" "What do you mean he's over?" "He's in a full uniform. He's got his cleats off, but look at him. He's still wearing the uniform. He's sitting on the steps of the hospital." And I see that I didn't say this as a definite fact because I really am not sure of this part, but I think Mickey Mantle was with him, but in street clothes. Maybe went on over there to check on him. I thought that, but that could be my imagination playing tricks. But I definitely saw Bobby Richardson in full uniform minus the cleats, sitting on the steps of a Baltimore hospital near the stadium. That's pretty funny.
That is great.
On that note, that's totally irrelevant to anything. I do have great stories. Some of them are odd, like this one, but I enjoyed. When I saw Bobby Richardson, I smiled because that brought back like kind of an interesting memory from childhood, right?
That is, I like it. I mean,